Hi, my name is Yasmin Turehi, and this is Startup Confessionals, where we interview startup founders and entrepreneurs in the Middle East and Africa. We'll learn about some of the biggest lessons these founders discovered on their journey, from the personal to the professional, and share how they keep themselves motivated. Today's episode is with Asim Janjua, the co-founder of MamoPay. As CXO, he drives and leads organizational design, operations, growth, and expansion with a human-first approach. And before MamoPay, Asim spent over 6 years working as a technical design lead for Google Switzerland. So welcome to the show, Asim.
Thank you for having me, Yasmin.
So Asim, can you briefly share your value proposition of MamoPay in your own words with our audience?
Yeah, sure. So MamoPay is a startup that is about 2 years old. And our main prerogative of starting this company or pain point or problem that we're trying to solve was simply giving ability to customers in the Middle East, specifically UAE, the ability to send and receive money. That's where it started, at least. And that came from a pain point that me and my co-founders really suffered from ourselves. In many ways, I think in the Middle East, the banking sector usually learns from the West and from the East. So with that, you see innovation sometimes being sluggish, particularly in industries like the banking sector, where there's a lot of legacy and a lot at stake. So we sought out to help, let's say, move that along.
Great. Yeah. And so maybe you could just also dive in like the product buy flow. Like, so let's say someone goes into your product. What do they do? Is it similar to Venmo in the United States? What would you compare it to?
Yeah, so Venmo is a good comparison, minus the kind of social sharing element. We're really focused on a utilitarian solution, which allows users to send petty cash between one another. So I would just separate our product offerings. We currently have two products. So one of them is what we call MamoPay, and the other one is Mamo Business. MamoPay is an app, and Mamo Business is a web URL that allows small businesses to collect payments from their customers.
Yeah, excellent. And, I have traveled a lot to the Middle East, and I've always felt like this was such a big pain point in the region, the ability to send cash easily, or to send payments easily within the region. And so is this available all throughout the Middle East, or is it only available in specific countries?
So for now, it's only available in the UAE, but our ambitions and inspiration is to make sure that this goes to the GCC and then further into MENA as well. At least for now, that is our kind of trajectory, and to really be focused on the Middle East. And the reason for that is multifold, in the sense that obviously you need to make sure that you have a product that actually works and has a good product market fit, but also we're in the fintech business, we're in the financial services business. In my opinion, in experience, I don't think there's anything that's regulated as much as financial services. So that takes time and effort to build rapport, understanding, friendships, relationships with regulators, and making sure that they are happy while making sure we're building a viable product as well. And that is different for every single country. So regardless of whether you're in the Middle East, every single country has a different set of regulations and protocols for that as well. So our ambition is to really test the product market fit and build a lot of the back end technology, which we're doing with full IP, homegrown, as well, and then using that as a launch pad to go into other markets.
So, Asim, why did you guys start this company? I mean, obviously, you mentioned that it was a pain point, and that it seems like you're testing the product market fit, but you also have validated a lot of it. So I'm just curious, why did you start this company, and like how big of a pain point do you think this problem is in the region? On a scale of 1 to 5, like what would you give it? 1 being low, 5 being very high.
It's a good question. I think the scale of problem is probably around 3 to 4, from 1 to 5. I don't think we started this company simply to allow people to send money to each other. That is a great pain point to solve, and as you've experienced yourself, it needs work in the region. However, there's a deeper reason to doing what we're doing, at least from myself, and I speak on behalf of my co-founder, and that's a lot more to do with bringing a better understanding of financial services. So financial literacy underlies everything we do at Mamo. For example, helping our target audience, particularly in the Middle East, understand investments and how investments work. We have a Memo Mentor blog that really focuses on kind of bite-sized information on everything from ETFs to stock markets, etc. So we have a big kind of passion for bringing about financial independence through financial know-how. So the idea is that once customers understand financial services better, that allows them to make better financial decisions and therefore be a lot more independent with their finances. So there is a bigger and deeper purpose to everything we're doing. It just so happens right now we decided to start with a wallet and peer-to-peer service, much like you have in other countries. You mentioned Venmo, there's many more. And the reason for starting there was it's an anchor for us to provide features that extend beyond peer-to-peer money transfer. So, having the ability to have a wallet where we're holding user funds allows us to offer services such as Mamo Rewards, which we're working on currently right now and actually testing as well. And what Mamo Rewards does is gives you rewards on your holding balance of your wallet as well. So we're taking care of how that money gets diversified, and then every month the user simply gets cash inside the wallet. And it's an opt-in feature as well, so you don't have to do it, and your funds there aren't locked in. You can still have access to them, you can use them, etc. So that's kind of at least one feature that you see coming out of the peer-to-peer service. And then in the future we have a lot more features coming out simply because we're holding funds. And those, for example, look like the ability to have a Mamo card, which connects to Google Pay, Apple Pay, that allows you to diversify the way you use your Mamo wallet funds. So you now, with the Mamo card, you now have the ability to pay for a coffee or pay for goods and services online on the internet, etc.
Are you guys planning on adding some like alternative payment methods, like maybe cryptocurrency, or are you just sticking to cash?
Have you looked at our product roadmap already, Yasmin? Yes, we are indeed. But however, I'm of the opinion, I do come from somewhat of a blockchain crypto background prior to starting Mamo. But in my opinion, and my co-founder agrees as well, is that we don't want to do crypto as a method of investment right now. We really want to be driving crypto to a place where it's used to pay for goods, products, and services. So that would be our main goal for crypto. That's, I think, a little bit of a medium to long-term goal. We're still in the process of figuring out fiat currency and making sure that works really well, make sure we have good partners, solid partners on the ground. We have a decent traction on customers, and then eventually going into crypto. And crypto phases look something like this. Phase 1 would be the ability to send crypto to your Mamo wallet and for us to hold that crypto, as simple as that. Then we'll have the ability to send that crypto between friends. And the third phase of that will be the ability to use that crypto as a form of payment for goods and services.
Very cool. Yeah. I always so curious about how companies create their product roadmap, but then are constantly getting validation from the market, whether that's actually, the product that they want. So I've spent so many years launching so many different products, and I just think it's, specifically when it comes to these types of features where, maybe there's not so much regulation. There's a lot more, I would say, risk involved. I think that the big question is like, how much time and energy do you spend on things that are more risky? Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And look, I think particularly, Yasmin, in financial services, the fragility of upsetting multiple partners, including regulators, is too high to be radical, is too high to be a maverick or a disruptor. You have to tread carefully, and that's not only because of regulators. Money is a sacred value for customers, and we don't want to be messing around with customers' money. So there's a huge element of trust building with users and customers. Legacy institutes have many years ahead of us in terms of building trust and relationship. And here we are, just this young startup, 2 years old, and we're just kind of, building that. So we don't want to harm that in any way as well, while at the same time, as you said, making sure we're moving at a steady pace, making sure we have a pulse on the market, understanding what the market wants. Ultimately, market drives the product and the product success.
Right. Yeah, it's a very thoughtful approach. And I've jokingly said, the fail fast, iterate model works until you're working, until you're in the vertical of fintech and cryptocurrency, because you do not want to fail fast when you're dealing with people's money.
Awesome. Yes, nicely put.
So, Asim, I want to talk a little bit about how your priorities might have shifted as you started to grow the company, as you started to raise more money. What was that like for you? And can you remind us, you're at your Series A, is that correct?
Yeah, we just closed the pre-Series A round, and really using those funds to now double down on a lot of what we've built, but also making sure we have the team to support the next phase of that build.
Nice. And what was it like to go through the fundraising round? Because I also think this is such an interesting point to kind of sit between running a company, working on product, and maybe your position as CXO doesn't require you to spend as much time fundraising. I don't know if that's the case, but how do you manage both priorities?
That's a great question. I think, look, once you're associated as a founder, you're wearing multiple hats. While I also do CXO work, I think my deepest passion and responsibility is making sure that the organization design is done very well. And that includes everything from culture all the way through to hiring the right people as well, to making sure that investor relations and presentations to them make sense as well as an organization. So my co-founder had mostly been leading the Series A fundraising round, with myself and my other co-founder, Imad, playing a support role, particularly when it came to kind of questions around product and technology stack, etc. So we were definitely involved in a lot of the fundraising, and it's my first time doing it, and the experience for me has been both exhilarating, particularly when the conversations are exciting and interesting. There's some investors that are more conversational, and they dig deep into your psyche and your interpersonal challenges, your audacity. They're trying to figure out your audacity rather than the product. Is when I really love that, because we are a set of founders that I think are highly driven by problem solving and just building a beautiful product, and really, really customer centric. We want to do it right. We want to do it right for the customer as well. And great VCs get that out of you, get that excitement out of you. So those types of conversations were really, really exciting when you connected with a VC on that level. I would say that while it's exhilarating and exciting doing this kind of tour, I kind of compare it to a band being on tour. You're going from East Coast, West Coast to Europe, to Dubai, and everywhere, and the time zones. And it's like this for like 1 or 2 months. And that can that can be exhausting, but the excitement and the exhilaration definitely overpowers the exhaustion.
Yeah, I can imagine. And Asim, have you felt like raising money for a company in the Middle East is it accessible to VCs and investors outside of the region, or have you kind of only been working with investors in the region? I'm just curious, like what maybe has been your perspective of like Western investors or Asian investors or investors outside of the region. And what are you kind of seeing thematically play out, if you are aware of what themes are playing out?
Yeah, look, I think Dubai is such a melting pot on an international level that is attracting a lot of interest. From international investors. So while we absolutely want to work with local investors in the UAE, Saudi, across the region, which we have a good set of investors from the region. We also have, I think, maybe a little bit of a majority that are international investors. So everywhere from Silicon Valley all the way to East Coast, UK, Europe, even Africa. We have investors from Africa as well. We have investors from Asia, China as well. So we have definitely diversified our pool of investors. And we've been very, very deliberate as well. I think investors have an important role to play beyond providing funds, which is obviously very important and incredibly grateful for. It's really important, at least from my perspective, to also understand where the investor is coming from, what their mindset is, and are they going to be there when the going gets tough, or are they only interested in getting an exit? And that is both a science and art to establish with an investor as well. And that was something deliberate that we had first agreed between the founders before going in to investor calls. Of course, we didn't want to come across at all arrogant in terms of refusing investors. So we spent ample amount of time literally meeting every investor that was interested in us.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I always wonder like what each company, prioritizes when it comes to bringing in an investor on. Like sometimes you don't want an investor to be so involved in the business, and other times you do, right? So
Right.
just getting the needs met for each business and organization is important. Asim, I want to also talk about what was the biggest moment of adversity that you faced in the last 2 years, and how did you overcome it?
I don't know if the adversity is the right word for this, but the sheer sense of one, finding a problem that the market resonated with, and then the responsibility that came with that problem. Let me go a little bit deeper with that. So we developed the MamoPay app, which is a mobile app on Android and iOS initially, just before COVID, and then COVID happened. By that time, my co-founders had also left their full-time jobs as well. And that was a moment of truth, like they just left their full-time jobs. Both of them were at Google as well. I'd left a little while longer. That moment came when we had to really either double down or figure out if this was the right time to do this. And thankfully, we doubled down, and we doubled down in a way in which it was obviously at the moment we didn't know that this would happen, but that's the risk, the leap of faith, if you want, you take at that moment. And that leap of faith was, moving forward with building the MamoPay app on the mobile device and making sure that we were building it in a way where we had as much control of the experience as possible. And what that meant was building our own backend systems, which goes understated and forgotten about too often. Users see the front end system, but on the back end, there's a whole heap of incredible work that has been done in terms of making sure the payments when sending to users feels like it's real time. It surprises users in many instances. Wow, you send it from one person to another person and bang, there you are. Money's been sent. But what's happening on the back end in terms of settlement and collection is just incredible in the way Imad and the engineering team kind of thought about that and built that as well. And without knowing, when COVID struck, we had a moment where we had a lot of friends in the UAE that were kind of reaching out to us and saying, guys, you're in the payment space. Is there anything that you can do or help us with in terms of collecting money? Because they were now doing their, personal training sessions, meditation teachers, dance classes all over Zoom, and they were no longer getting cash in hand. And this was a moment of reckoning for us. Like, wow, this is clearly a problem that is coming from the market that other organizations aren't serving. So there's a segment here in the UAE that is underserved, the small business segment. And the team mobilized really quickly. And I think literally in a matter of weeks, we developed Mamo Business, which was a simple web form with a credit card input and a URL. And it took 7 questions to register. And we put it out there without advertising it, just to friends and family. And this went viral, to say the least. And we had many, many small businesses register for it. Today, Mamo Business is a core product of the MamoPay kind of product suite. But it did start off as something that we had literally built in a matter of weeks to serve a pain point that we did not actually go in right from the outset to solve, and that was the small businesses that needed this. I think as looking back, the sheer size of the problem is now twofold. So we no longer have just consumers; we also have businesses. And that can be daunting sometimes. You started off making one product for consumers, and now you've opened up an entire segment of customers with businesses. And truth be told, they are very, very different customers, and I think the way we kind of overcome that, or at least the way I like to think about it, and I share this with the team, is that we're providing a service for people and humans. Let's put aside for 1 minute that one segment is a consumer and one segment is a business. And I think by doing that, that just really, really inspired great thinking, creative solutions, whereby today we're talking about and very likely going to merge Mamo Business and the Mamo Consumer app into one single experience. So, for example, like Instagram, you can switch between a business account or a personal account. It's very likely that Mamo in the future is going to do something very similar.
Oh, wow. That's amazing that you started out the business with one product, and then another product that kind of emerged really out of the pandemic is now your biggest product offering. I love hearing stories like that. Amazing. So, Asim, we're kind of running out of time, but I wanted to ask you, what continues to motivate you when days are tough? This show is called Startup Confessionals, so we want to get into the head of our founders and really talk about not just the kind of bright, shiny days and the successes, but also what happens behind the scenes. So I was wondering if you could share with us what continues to motivate you, and how do you keep yourself motivated, especially when, things are tough or you might not have enough time. What have you sacrificed?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's an important question because I think, there's a lot that goes into building a startup that we don't see, and that's the personal lives of founders. So, for example, I've never kind of allowed the startup to take over my life. I still wake up every morning at around 5:30. I've meditated for years. I haven't allowed that to stop in any way. And I do my workout in the morning as well. And I have no data really to back this up with. But I believe without that alone, I just will not be motivated in the same way as I am today. So just having that discipline, having that regimen, having that ritual is so vital for my being, for my soul, for my headspace, for my heart space, and I think that single-handedly motivates me every day. The chemical reactions that happen in the body when you meditate or when you do workouts, etc., has to participate in being motivated during the day at work. So that's on more of a psyche level, on a personal level. I think what motivates me most is the sense of responsibility and love and passion I have for my team. I really take great pride in making sure that Mamo remains a sacred space to work in. And with that, I want to make sure that every person that walks in through the door is incredibly smart, of course, intellectually, technically, but also has a wonderful gift to be inside the heart space, kind, compassionate, empathetic, a listener, someone who removes barriers. And that is really important for us as a startup, and something that I think up until now, we have truly been blessed to have some really great people. It's rare to wake up and want to be in the office. I've been blessed to have had that with Google, and it's even a higher blessing to have that with something that I started. What that feels like is wanting to be in the office, wanting to go to work, wanting to see the faces of my team, wanting to speak to them. And that alone, I think, creates so much motivation. And when one person is motivated and excited, that is contagious, and that goes on to the team members in the same way. The opposite is true too.
Amen, Asim. That's really beautiful. I'm so happy to hear that you've created space for your well-being and wellness, because I think so many people just get burnt out. And I always like to remind founders that I work with, it's a long game, and working so many hours is fine, but I think we need to balance that, right? Like, I think it's just beautiful that you've created space in the morning. And maybe you could tell us like a person or a book that has inspired you recently. It could be personal, people in your, personal network. It could be someone outside of that. But yeah, who's someone that inspires you, or it could be a book you're reading as well.
Person who inspires me. Oh, wow. I think a lot of people inspire me. I tap into a lot of different sources and people, everything from like my own kind of spiritual path and all the way through to kind of, startup entrepreneurs as well. I think what inspires me the most and creates malleability in my nature is doing things that perhaps don't have a direct link to the work I'm doing. So, for example, I might go to a dance class, an ecstatic dance class, and that just gives me the ability to just let go. Which gives me the ability to come to work more inspired, more creative as well, all the way through to books. And so one book that has really truly changed my perspective on how I see things, how I understand things, and what my reaction and attitude is to things, is a book by a chap called Viktor Frankl, and the book's name is The Man's Search for Meaning. I think that book has provided me a way of thinking and mindset that I think in today's kind of growth mindset is called, hacking, or the ability to find the good in every situation, the ability to have gratitude and approach every problem with a sense of learning and growth. And that sometimes it's like we sometimes feel like force in the sense that, taking, aggressive actions is helpful, where often it's much more of a stand back, softer approach that gives you the most returns and reward.
Yeah, Definitely, definitely. That's great. I love that book. That was a big gateway book for me on my own spiritual journey. So I love that. And I think it's one I think every human being should read.
Agreed.
So Asim, can you tell us where can people find you? Are you on LinkedIn? And also where can people find MamoPay?
Sure. So MamoPay is mamopay.com, and you can find on there our product offerings, our Mamo Mentor blog as well, photos of our team and a little bit about our thinking, our ethos, our vision. It's decently documented, and you would get a good understanding of our thinking and approach. People can find me mostly on LinkedIn. I'm not on social media, unfortunately, but you can definitely find me on LinkedIn. And my LinkedIn address would be Asim Janj, so ASIMJANJ.
Perfect. Amazing. We'll add that to the show notes as well. And thank you so much for your time, Asim. This is so great. I know that you're in UAE and I'm in California, so it's always so interesting to find times to connect with the time difference. But I really appreciate you taking the time.
And Yasmin, thank you for reaching out and doing the work you do as well and getting our voice out there.
Oh, of course, of course. And for our audience, thanks for joining and for listening to Startup Confessionals.